let's talk about something that sounds, well, totally backwards. The idea that your brain is actually built to forget. So that probably raises a pretty big question, right? Why on earth would our brains be designed to do that? I mean, if we're trying so hard to remember things, why does it feel like our own brain is working against us? We're going to get into that. Okay, first up, let's talk about something I think we've all felt. That awful feeling of failure. Let's call it the blank mind problem. It's that moment where you just question everything. So, have you ever had this happen? I'm gonna bet you have. Let me just paint your little picture here, and you tell me if this sounds familiar. All right, so you've been studying for hours. I mean, you've really put in the work. You've read everything, you've got your highlighters out, you feel confident. You're thinking, okay, I got this. And then the moment arrives. It's the big exam, or maybe it's that job interview you've been prepping for all week. The pressure is on. And your mind just goes completely blank. Poof, gone. It's not even on the tip of your tongue, it's just nothing. Ah, what an awful, awful feeling. And right there, in that moment, what do we tell ourselves? We think, man, I'm just bad at studying, or I guess I'm just not a good learner, or the worst one, maybe I'm just not smart enough. Listen to me on this. That conclusion, it is just wrong. Flat out wrong. This isn't about how smart you are, not at all. It's all about understanding how your brain is actually wired. So to really get this, we have to look at your brain's survival instinct and why it forgets. And I'll tell you right now, its main job is probably not what you think it is. Okay, here it is. This is the big idea we all get wrong. We tend to think of our brain as this perfect storage device, right? Like a computer hard drive that's supposed to save everything. But that's not its job. The reality is, your brain is a survival system. Its number one priority for millions of years has been to keep you alive. And to do that, it has to be ruthless about what it holds on to. So deep inside your brain, you've got this little part called the hippocampus. And I want you to think of it like a super strict bouncer at a nightclub, a security checkpoint. It looks at every single piece of information trying to get in and asks one simple question. Is this important for survival? And for most of the stuff we study in a book, the answer is a big no. And that leads us to a huge problem with how we study. When we just passively reread our notes or highlight a textbook, we're creating something called weak encoding. The best way to think about it is like you're trying to take a picture of something really important, but the photo comes out all blurry and out of focus. Your brain looks at that blurry photo and says, garbage, and just tosses it out. Okay, this all leads to a really important, if kind of brutal, idea. It's called the forgetting curve. You can basically think of this as your brain's factory default setting. So, way back in the day, the psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something mind-blowing. He figured out that forgetting isn't something that happens by accident. It's automatic. Our brains are designed to dump information really, really fast, unless we do something specific to stop it. And when you look at the numbers, they are just staggering. Get this. Within just a few hours, you can lose about half of what you just learned. A day later, that's up to 70% gone. And after a week, forget about it. 90% could be totally gone. And again, this isn't a mistake. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I'll just cram right before the test. Bad idea. Cramming is a trap. It tricks you because it plays on the difference between recognition and recall. See, when you look at your notes, you recognize the answer. Oh yeah, I know that. But that is a million miles away from being able to recall it from a blank slate. That's why you can feel so confident and then get totally blindsided by a question on the exam. And if you're an all-nighter person, this is the final nail in the coffin. You absolutely need sleep to make memory stick. That's when your brain does the filing. I love this analogy. Studying without sleep is like spending hours writing a super important document and then just closing the computer without ever clicking save. All that work is just lost. Okay, so that's the problem. And I know, it sounds a little bleak, but here's the good news. Now we get to the solutions. This is the part where we talk about how to actually make memories stick. Think of this as the official owner's manual for your brain. So how do we get past that bouncer, the hippocampus? We need to send it a signal that says, hey, this is actually important. And there are 4 simple rules to do it. Rule 1, struggle to retrieve. Rule 2, teach to own. Rule 3, space it out. And Rule 4, sleep to save. All right, the number 1 most important rule by far is that first one, struggle. This is a technique called active recall. It's so simple, but it changes everything. It just means you close the book, you look away from your notes, and you force your brain to pull the answer out of thin air. You have to quiz yourself. Don't just reread. And this is the key mindset shift. That feeling of difficulty, that little bit of struggle when you're trying to remember something, that's not a sign you're failing. That is the signal for learning. You're literally telling your brain, whoa, this took some effort to find. This must be important. Let's make the path to this information stronger for next time. So let's just put it all together into a simple system you can use right away. First, learn actively. That means testing yourself, not just rereading. Second, test yourself before you review your notes. Third, come back to the material a few times, spaced out over a few days. And finally, get a good night's sleep after you learn. This is how you beat that blank mind problem. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter with your brain instead of against it. And that brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. I really want you to let this sink in. Forgetting is not failure. It has nothing to do with being smart or not. Forgetting is just feedback. It's your brain's way of telling you, hey, that signal wasn't quite strong enough. Let's try that again, but this time, let's really show me that it matters. The moment you stop fighting your brain and start using these rules, everything changes. Learning isn't a mystery anymore. It's a process. You don't magically get smarter, you just get more strategic. So you've got the owner's manual now. The only question left is, how are you going to use it?